Here I am. Welcome to Talkin Ball with Scotty and Sergio. I'd point behind me, but I'm not in Sydney. I'm in the Hunter Valley enjoying some holidays. Sergio, how was your Christmas?
Christmas was awesome. How's it going, man?
Mate, it's all good. I'm on holidays at the moment, leaving tomorrow. It's the 28th here, I believe. Leaving tomorrow to go pick up my dad from hospital. He finally got out, so we're going to bring him back up here. Just keep watching some basketball. I've been getting him onto the basketball. He's been accessing my NBA account to watch some games while he's in hospital. But he's not been enjoying all the blowouts, which we'll get into in a second. It's been a crazy few first few days in the NBA.
Yeah, so weird. I think we were talking about this before. It's just very unusual to see these huge swings and big like differences in points. Like big wins, big losses as well.
Well, we're going to get into it straight away, Serge. We have so many games to unpack from Christmas Day, Boxing Day, and then the game this morning, which was the Dallas Mavericks and the Los Angeles Clippers. But Christmas Day, we didn't have any close games. We're going to start off in Miami. The Pelicans came to Miami. At halftime, it was 53-66. The final score was 111-98 for the Pelicans. Zion Williamson had 32 points and 14 rebounds. Brandon Ingram had 28 points. Josh Hart had 12 points and 9 rebounds. For Miami, Duncan Robinson had 23 points, 5 rebounds, 7 for 13 from three-point range. Bam Adebayo had 17 points, 4 rebounds. And Goran Dragic had a great game, 18 points, 9 assists, 4 steals. Miami getting their first win of the season after losing to Orlando, Serge.
Yeah, great game. It's a shame because the Pelicans had, great performances by both Ingram and Zion.
Yeah.
But Miami just came ready to play. And basically you saw Robinson, I think he dropped 4 3-pointers in the first quarter.
Yep.
So they came in with their role players really ready to play. As opposed to the first game, they were a bit off. It was a great showing by Miami.
Eric Spoelstra definitely knows how to get his teams ready for Christmas Day games. He is 8-0 in Christmas Day games that he's played. And like you're saying, Duncan Robinson, 3-pointers kind of killed Pelicans in this game. They shot 28.6%, while Miami shot a very nice 43.2%. In the end, that kills them. With those extra points, I know Goran Dragic made a few, Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero. Just they couldn't get enough from behind the arc in this game.
Yeah, and great to see Goran picking up where he left off last season before he got injured, being really a pivotal part of their game. And he has that facility to like score at will sometimes, and that's great for Miami to produce more options and spread the floor.
Yeah, such a great IQ for the game, Goran Dragic. Like he's not a super athletic guy. He's a pretty big point guard. I think he's 6'5". He's pretty strong, but he's not crazy athletic. But he just uses his footwork. He's got a couple of Euro steps. He can finish with both hands. 9 assists as well in this game. And he put Miami on his back, seeing that I don't think Jimmy Butler played any of the second half. He had a bit of bruising around his ankle. I'm hearing there's nothing too bad about it. But with no Jimmy, your best player, you come out and you finish the job off in the second half. And good win for Miami. They're on the scoreboard. Next game, Serge, we had the Warriors at the Bucks. A lot of people were hoping this was going to be a close game. It was a 10-point margin, 56-66 at halftime. The final score for this game, Warriors 99, the Bucks 138. It's the second worst Christmas loss ever, but it was the Warriors' biggest loss on Christmas since 1960. Steph Curry, probably the only good one for here. He had 19 points, 6 assists, only 2 of 10 from three-point range. Andrew Wiggins, 12.6 rebounds, 6 of 18 field goal. The only guy they're getting some good production from, apart from Steph Curry, has been James Wiseman. He had 18 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 blocks. Giannis had 15 points, 13 rebounds. Chris Middleton, 31 points and 5 assists. And Bobby Portis, 10 points and 12 rebounds. And no one played more than 26 minutes for the Bucks in this entire game. Oh, bad start for the Warriors to start the season, Serge.
Really tough. And, even their stars Curry, their ultimate star, is struggling, shooting 2 for 10. This is the last time you saw Curry shoot so poorly from the three-point. Have you seen this viral video that's been going around?
5 minutes of straight three-pointers? Yeah.
Yeah, so what's up with that? He just hit him in practice, but he's not hitting them in the game.
Yeah, I don't think he's got, when you're standing still in the corner at training is one thing, but when no one's really helping him create any any space for himself. There's no movement off the ball. This team has looked really bad. Andrew Wiggins and Kelly Oubre are giving them absolutely nothing, and they're taking up about 80 million of their salary. Whoa, so this is not the start that the Warriors wanted. The Bucks, though, that was a good win after they lost to the Boston Celtics on opening night. Listen to this statistic, Serge. The Bucks shot nearly 55% from the field, while the Warriors shot 34.3. 3-point range, the Warriors shot 22.2%, and the Bucks shot 54.1%. You're not going to come close. You're not going to come close to beating anyone in games like that.
You're not going to lose a game if you're shooting 54 from 3.
No, you are not going to get close. Let's hope the Warriors can improve, but it might be a little bit early, but this has been a really brutal loss for the Warriors to start the season. They've lost 2 games by a combined 80 points.
That's probably their worst start ever. I think we got to give them time. They're playing with quite a few new pieces. A positive would be Wiseman's showing so far. He's definitely perhaps overplayed what was expected of him. And, he's a great player. So he could fall into be a really pivotal piece for them since they don't have any other players that are that strong in the center position.
Yeah, shout out to our mate Cam Terry at Top Boy Sports as well, who's having a big discussion. How do they get out of this funk? Is Steph Curry, his usage rate's going to have to go up. He's going to almost have to play James Harden style of basketball where the ball is in your hands all the time. You're looking to create for others, spinning around. But Steph Curry, for them to win games, it looks like he's going to be having to score 40 points a game, something like this.
Scotty, when are we expecting Draymond back?
Hopefully soon, but understandably, I think he's going to help anchor the defense, probably starting at that power forward role, because James Wiseman looks like he is the starter at center. He's looked pretty good. He's got a nice little shooting motion. But how much is he going to help their offense? He's not a scorer, Draymond Green. He's a good facilitator. But Kelly Oubre and Andrew Wiggins, started to keep talking about it, but if they don't have the ball in their hands, they're doing they don't cut. They're not helping to create opportunity. They're not setting back picks. There's no pick and rolls. There's something wrong with the Warriors at the moment, and hopefully they get it on track because they don't want another losing season because I'm pretty sure they gave away their first round pick for this year. So
this is the time for Steve Kerr to shine. He's got to take care of this team. He's been gifted great teams year after year, and you know what? Not to take nothing away from him, but it's easy to have good results when you have amazing players. Now you have a few guys out, but you still have some really great pieces that anyone would kill to have. Mm-hmm. So I think this is the time we're all going to expect Steve Kerr to step up and really coach the hell out of this team.
Yeah. We'll move on. This was another great game we were hoping for. It was the Nets at Boston. Halftime, we had a nice close one. It was 51-54 with Boston leading the third quarter. They just put them away, the Nets. The score finished 123-95. Kyrie Irving had 37 points, 8 assists, 7 of 10 from 3-point range. Kevin Durant, 29 points, 3 of 4 from 3-point range. Those two didn't play. They played all their minutes together, which was 33 minutes, and they had the exact same plus-minus, which was a big plus 31. Jarrett Allen also had 9 points, 11 rebounds, and 4 blocks. Jason Tatum had 20 points, 8 rebounds. He was a minus 21 in this game. Jaylen Brown, 27 points, 8 rebounds, minus 25 in this game. And Marcus Smart, 13.6 assists. He was a minus 24. They only shot 29.6 from 3, and the Nets shot 51.7. This Nets team, Serge, we're only 2 games in. They're my favorite at the moment. They were my favorite to start the season. They're running teams out of the gym.
It's insane. I mean, if you look at this team, you have 2 players that are shooting incredible percentages. And also, they're just generous with the ball. They're just, both of them, who's ever got the opportunity. So that's a nightmare for any defense because you can't pinpoint who to double team. You can't because you have these 2 players that are just absolutely phenomenal on offense. And it seems like they really have a good feel of playing with each other. As you said, the plus minus, they played every single one of their minutes together. And with that said, that's another worrying factor with Boston, that those 3 players that are pivotal for them, Tatum, Brown, and Smart playing together, we're all over minus 20 together, plus minus. And that's just not an exciting fact.
It was a great game to watch, especially the first half. Jason Tatum and Kevin Durant, for a lot of the first half, seemed to be guarding each other. And it shows both are very good defenders, but offense beats defense. They were both had some of the most beautiful fadeaways and were hitting shots and taking each other to the rim and scoring with crazy left hand, right hand finishes. It's crazy for me that this score ended up 123 to 95. I watched this whole game, and at halftime I was sitting here going, this is going to go deep into the fourth, into crunch time, and it never got there, unfortunately. But the Nets, how deep is this team? Karis LeVert coming off the bench. They have defense off the bench in Jarrett Allen, Torian Prince, Spencer Dinwiddie, and Joe Harris. Haven't had to do much so far with the starting lineup, with Durant and Irving doing most of the scoring. But you know that they're going to come into play at some point. They're both very, very good players and have helped get this Nets team into the playoffs without these stars the last couple of years.
And I'll tell you what, that's one of the scariest things, that this team is that good that they're going to sit Durant and Kyrie. They might play 27 minutes every game here now, 30 minutes max. And the bench players are going to get a huge opportunity to put in minutes and actually learn how to play together. And their second unit's only going to get better.
100%, Serge. Move on to the next game. This was the big game a lot of people were saying the day. Geez, it didn't end up this way. Dallas at the Los Angeles Lakers. At halftime, it was 57 to 69 to the Lakers. Dallas got blown out in the second half. It was 115 to 138. Luka Doncic had 27 points and 7 assists. Josh Richardson, 17 points. Trae Burke, 17 points. For the Lakers, LeBron, 22 points, 7 rebounds, 10 assists. Anthony Davis was a monster. He couldn't miss. 28 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. And Montrezl Harrell off the bench had 22 points and 7 rebounds. The shooting, Dallas, for most of the game, shot the ball pretty well. They scored 115, which is above league average, but the biggest telling sign, the offensive rebounds. The Lakers had 17 offensive rebounds, and Dallas only had 3. Dallas had no fast break points in this game, or second chance points. You cannot win games if you're not getting second chance points.
No. And, the Lakers in the playoffs were amazing at that, but they had 2 pieces that are gone now. So I don't know why they got murdered so badly on the boards, when Dwight and McGee aren't there anymore.
Yeah.
So Montrezl did a great job of scoring, but he wasn't so much like a monster on rebounds. So that's something that Dallas needs to get better at, and just value that every single chance that they get. It's going to be an average of, 2-3 more points per possession, and that's going to make it's going to be a game changer.
Yeah, 100%.
In this game, it was a difference of it being a close game as opposed to the blowout it ended up.
Yeah, definitely. It just wasn't a great game for Dallas. There wasn't a lot of turnovers, to be honest. Only had 9 turnovers in the game, which is pretty good, but they just could not stop the Lakers at any point last night. The Lakers shot 56% from the field and 48.7% from 3-point range. You aren't going to win too many games like that. Luka, a lot of people saying, looking a little bit out of sorts, looking like he's not 100% fit, but yeah, you could tell at certain points of the night he looked a little bit tired.
Yeah, we just got to throw Luka in a quick juice cleanse. He'll be good to go.
That's it, man. That's it.
Maybe just too much holiday action as well.
A bit too much eggnog.
Yeah.
And then after that, we went to Denver for the Clippers, traveling to Denver. This game, it got close a little bit in the third quarter, but halftime it was 72 to 55 to the Clippers. Finished 121 to 108. Paul George finished with 23 points, 5 rebounds, and 9 assists. Nicholas Batum, 13 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 assists. He's been a nice little pickup. Kawhi Leonard, 21 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 steals. Nikola Jokic, 24 points, 9 rebounds, 10 assists. He was a minus 20 for the night. Jamal Murray got his shooting touch back, 23 points, 5 rebounds, and Will Barton had 15 points and 15 rebounds. But this was a great win for the Clippers because they'd lost Kawhi Leonard in the third quarter to a really nasty accidental elbow from Serge Ibaka. If you want to have a look at it, guys, do, but it's pretty brutal to see how hard that elbow from a 6'11" center hits Kawhi across the face. He needed 8 stitches inside his mouth. It was a bloodbath there, Serge.
Yeah, if anybody saw it, it looked like he had been slaughtered. There was blood everywhere, and yeah, it was an intense thing to see. It looks like he's going to be back fairly soon, but 8 stitches is 8 stitches. And yeah, great win for the Clippers. Good showing by Paul George. Nikola Jokic was interesting because he almost had a triple double, but it just didn't translate into his team picking up points while he was on the floor. And defensively, they just lacked as well. They lacked intensity.
Yeah, the Clippers obviously did a good job defensively. They only let Denver shoot 30.6% from three, while the Clippers shot 50%. The field goals weren't too different. That was the biggest difference in the game, and it's a good win for the Clippers. They started the season. We'll obviously get into today's game that just happened, but they started the season 2-0, and Denver brought back down to life with that loss at home, which is probably disappointing for Denver fans as well, hoping to get off to a 2-0 start. But Serge, those were the Christmas Day games. No game was closer than 13 points. I think the average was 22 or 23 points. Margin of victory, which is insane. We've been talking about this offline, but a weird start to the season.
Yeah, I really wonder. I'm trying to understand a bit because it hasn't been that like a few teams showed up lackadaisical and they've been getting blown out. It's been one team blows out and then the next day they get blowed out. So that's kind of unusual. So it looks like I've been looking at moments during the game and it just seems like they play with the intensity that they should be playing only for spurts. And I don't know what that has to do with. I don't know if the crowd really carries you through a game and that's what they're lacking. I'm sure it's very different at the moment, but I felt that in the bubble, for example, with no crowds, they brought it. I don't know if it was just because it was mostly playoffs and that's what we saw. We only saw, what was it, 8 games?
Yeah.
8 games, yeah. So that could be it as well, but I don't know.
The disparity between some of these teams is it's crazy. Like I've never seen anything like the margins of victories in some of these games is just, it's weird. We'll move on, Serge, to Boxing Day games. Let's start off. Atlanta went to Memphis at halftime. It was 61-56 to the Hawks. The game finished 122-112. Trae Young, 36 points and 9 assists, continuing his great start to the season. Kevin Huerter had 21 points. He was 4 of 5 from three-point range. DeAndre Hunter had a nice double-double with 15 points and 11 rebounds. Kyle Anderson for the Grizzlies had 20 points and 14 rebounds. Ja Morant, another good game with 28 points and 7 assists. Dylan Brooks, 19 points in this game. Serge, what a start to the year for Atlanta. Trae Young is balling.
He's not missing a beat, is he? Great game for him. 36 points, 9 assists. And the thing with them is that their other pieces are just showing out too. So like it's exciting for Atlanta. We were all excited, you and I at least, about how they performed in the offseason and getting Trae that help he needed around him. Mm-hmm. But it's been exciting to see them all gel together and play really well these first 2 games. Ja Morant also playing exceptionally. You were saying that he's been kind of upset with the calls and kind of needing more support or kind of needing more fair calls, right?
Yeah, he thinks he's not getting the superstar calls that the other superstars get. And to be honest, Ja Morant, he's becoming a superstar. And the way that he flies around dunking, he gets hit and he doesn't seem to get called and he gets smashed in the air because he's only a little guy, man, and he can fly. He can throw the ball up to the rim to himself and dunk, and he's going to be a great player for a lot of years to come. This game, though, Trae Young as well had a little bit of an issue with Grayson Allen. He posted on his Instagram and his Twitter that Grayson Allen tried to trip him during the game. And if you remember a couple of years ago when he was playing for Duke, Grayson Allen actually got suspended for a game because he'd had multiple times where he tried to trip players and the waterworks came out and said he'd never do it again. But hey, some guys have a bit of grub in them. Like it's hard to like coach that out.
I just spent 5 minutes watching a video of Grayson Allen tripping, not a couple dudes, like almost
a tripper.
Yeah, so he's been known to be a bit of a dirty player, and Trae Young doesn't have any bad rep in that sense. So I'm trusting that he was probably right.
Yeah, that's Memphis. I think have started the season 0-2 now, so they're going to be looking forward to a burst. They definitely need Jaren Jackson Jr. back just to anchor that defense a little bit. And apart from a pretty ugly shot he's a pretty effective 3-point shooter. So they're hoping to get him back soon and start challenging again. The next game, Serge, we had the Oklahoma City Thunder travel to Charlotte At halftime, OKC were up 57-51, and they won the game by 2 points on a winner from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who had 24 points, 7 rebounds, 9 assists. George Hill chipped in with 21 points, 4 of 4 from three-point range. Darius Baisley had a nice 15 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 blocks. Gordon Hayward, 12 points, 7 rebounds, 3 steals. Devontae Graham, 14 points, 10 assists. Terry Rozier had 19 points, and LaMelo Ball got off the mark. He had 13 points and 6 rebounds. But OKC, we don't think they're going to be trying to win a lot of games this year. They're going to be a competitive team, but this team is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's, and he won them the game today.
Yeah, it was good to see that he's picked up and he's going to be their number one option. There's no really battle or confusion in that because he is their most agile player on offense and the biggest threat. This game was anyone's. Did you see the end of this game?
Yeah, it was going back and forth, and yeah, it was a beautiful game to watch.
And Charlotte scored about like 10 points in the last minute, or it was just going, they were down by 7 and they tied, foul. It was one of those games where, you know, sometimes when you watch basketball games, you're like, why are they fouling at the end of the game? This is over. But they kept doing it and hitting threes and hitting threes. And it got to the point where it was a tie game, where they were up by, were they up by one? Yeah, and Gilgeous-Alexander he hits a winning shot. And, you know, stone cold. It was a great game.
Yeah.
The positives I take of this game for the Hornets is that they hung in there and they battled. And also LaMelo. LaMelo played great. It was 13 minutes he played, but he was 5 for 10, 13 points, played really well. He shook some of that nervousness that we saw in the first game. But I'd like to see him play more. I mean, I really think he's a really talented player. And I think he could play a bit more minutes with Rozier, which Rozier has been playing really well. And that's good to see that that he's, you know, running the point and playing solid for them. What I'm not understanding is what's going on with 12 points for Gordon Hayward. I mean, this guy
he didn't have a great game.
$30 million a year. We need you to produce.
Well, he's pretty much started the season. I think in preseason he broke one of his fingers on his shooting hand, so he's playing the start. He's not taking any days off. He's playing the start of the season with a broken shooting finger, which you can use as an excuse. But he came there to. The Hornets aren't there to lose this year. They signed this guy for $30 million to win games.
It's the pink, you know?
Oh, it's the pinky?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the Hornets, I'm sure, will start to win some games soon. But again, it shows, like, for those of you guys with League Pass, sometimes these bottom teams put on a great game, and this was a great finish. And you're going to see some of the guys of the future really balling out there. We had another...
It was a nail biter. It was a good game.
The next game was even better, Sergio. We had the Cleveland Cavaliers travel to the Detroit Pistons. It was 59-53 at halftime to the Cavs. This one went to double overtime, where the Cavs won at 128-119. The Pistons just couldn't sink a shot in second overtime. Colin Sexton continued his good start to the season, 32 points and 3 steals. Darius Garland, 21 points and 12 assists. Andre Drummond, listen to this stat line, 23 points, 16 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals, and 3 blocks. Blake Griffin had 26 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, and 8 of 16 from 3. Jeremy Grant had 28 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 blocks. And DeLon Wright had a good scoring game, 19 points and 6 rebounds. For me, I watched a bit of this game. Blake Griffin, I think I sent you a message. I think he was 6 of 8 from 3-point range at halftime. Second half, he was 2 of 8. He couldn't make a shot. I think he had 22 points in the first half or something. He just couldn't get anything going in the second half. But, hey, the Cavs, we were talking a bit of shit about the Cavs, I think, leading up to the season. And they haven't played anyone crazy. But Darius Garland looks better. Colin Sexton looks better. Andre Drummond looks focused. Good start for the Cavs.
Great start. I mean, Sexton dropping 32 points. And, Andre Drummond's his stat lines.
Drummond. I like the way you say it. It's like it's French.
Drummond. These are two teams that I think we were both bagging both these teams, but they played well. And the Cavs have really put together, I don't know, they have some kind of chemistry that's working. So hopefully it's not just the beginning of the season fluke and they actually come through. But excited to see that Sexton's playing out. On the Pistons, I don't know if I've ever seen Blake Griffin ever take 16 3-point shots. Jeez. But I mean, that's what they must need this year. Jeremy Grant is we talked about him getting traded and him picking to go to the Pistons. And here's what it is. He's getting his shots up and he wants to be more of a pivotal part of the team. And he's been showing out so far.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, he has been balling out. Detroit, they struggled yesterday, obviously, in crunch time in that second overtime, but good win for the Cavs. They've had a great start to the season. Let's move on to the Magic. Went to Washington to play the Wizards. They were up 63-59 at halftime. They won the game 130-120. Nikola Vucevic had a nice game, 22 points, 17 rebounds. Markelle Fultz is showing that he's worthy of that new contract extension with 21 points and 7 assists, a couple of really nice behind-the-back passes. Terrence Ross had 25 points as well. And for the Wizards, Bradley Beal, 39 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. Russell Westbrook, 15 points, 15 rebounds, 12 assists. Only shot 6 of 19 from the field. And Thomas Bryant had 19 points. This is the stat that killed me in this game. The shooting was really close in this game. Magic went 23 for 39 from free throws, but the Wizards, 15 of 28, both struggled from the free throw line. All the other stats are pretty close, but I think the rest of the team, apart from the big 3 guys, Beal, Westbrook, and Bryant for the Wizards, had 3 of 11 from the free throw line. For both teams, especially the Wizards, they're easy points. You gotta be hitting your free throws.
Yeah, how to lose a game? Don't shoot free throws well, and that's how you're going to lose a game. It's a 10-point difference. We expect teams to at least shoot 70-75%. It's just unacceptable.
And Russell Westbrook, he's making his teammates. He's making his teammates better with 12 assists, 15 rebounds. He's pushing the tempo, but Russ is not taking good shots if he's shooting 6 from 19 field goals.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about early in the season. If you have a guy like Bradley Beal, just be happy with being the second option. You don't need to shoot 19 shots. You're a facilitator. And he did it during the game, but it's just like he cannot shoot 30% from the field. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, now the Magic, they started the season by beating the Heat. They're beating the Wizards now. Nikola Vucevic looks like he's an all-star again. Markelle Fultz has been looking good. Maybe we put Orlando Magic a little bit too low, but it's still 2 games in. Let's not take too much, but yeah, good start for the Magic to open the season.
Yeah, and really, I'm really happy to see Fultz doing well. He's had a couple hard seasons. Yesterday, the last season he showed progress already, but he's really playing well.
Yeah, he's shooting. His mechanics. Remember at Philly, it was so hard to watch him shoot. He really had no confidence. His free throws were awful. Like I can't even remember. He was spinning the ball to himself and. Yeah, it was really hard to watch, but he's come a long way. He was the number 1 overall pick, I think 3 years ago, whatever it was. And I think it was the Sixers gave up they traded a first pick away to get him with the first pick, and Jason Tatum ended up as the 3rd pick. So we just want to see, everyone wants to see Markelle Fultz do well. He looks like a good dude, quiet guy, just get his confidence back, and he's helping the Magic win some games, which is what he's there for.
Yeah, maybe that $50 million extension helped.
Yeah, 100%. Well, the next game, Serge, I think we all knew who was going to win this game. The Sixers traveled to New York. It was 60-55 to the Sixers at halftime. They ended up winning by 20, 109-89. Ben Simmons, 15 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 blocks. Joel Embiid had another monster game with 27 points and 10 rebounds. Tobias Harris had 17 points in this game. He was a plus 32. For the Knicks, Julius Randle had 25 points, 7 rebounds. Mitchell Robinson, 11 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 blocks. Alec Burks had a really nice game off the bench as well with 22 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 from 6 from three-point range. I don't think anyone expected the Knicks to win this game, but the big boys for the 76ers all had really good games.
Yeah, I think we're finally getting Embiid to the place that everyone expects him to be. As Shaq is saying, he needs to be a player that's around 30 and 12 a game, around there, because he just can. If he wants to play bully ball, he can do that all day. And he's got a decent 3-point shot, which if he's not taking a ton of them, his percentages will go up. Simmons, amazing, producing producing great offensive rhythm for them. And Tobias Harris, just a guy who on defense is always going to play well.
Yeah, they asked him to play the small forward role last year, Tobias Harris, with Al Horford and Joel Embiid there. Just wasn't enough room for him. And we saw him at the Clippers the year before. He can shoot, he can defend, he can grab some rebounds. So Tobias Harris looks to be starting the season really well, looks a bit more comfortable. The Knicks, depends what you're expecting from the Knicks this season. We said they shouldn't be expecting too much. It's all about internal growth. The next couple of years, they've got a ton of cap space. So if a couple of these guys like a Mitchell Robinson can become a lot better, the RJ Barretts, Julius Randle obviously had a really good game. They'd be looking to trade him, I think, this year as well for some young pieces, maybe a couple draft picks. But there's not too much. If you're a Knicks fan, it's going to be a tough season again, but you just got to look forward to these young guys playing well.
And I don't know if we mentioned, but Obi Toppin got injured.
Oh, yeah. I think he missed the game, I think, with just an ankle injury. So I think they're saying that he might miss the next game. But apart from that, it doesn't look to be anything drastic. But he's one of those guys, I think you want to see him play a lot of games this year. Hopefully he can turn into a 2010 guy, and then he can be there as one of the centerpieces when they can start bringing some free agents in to mesh with that team.
Yeah, and he's also fun to watch. So I think for the Knicks fans, having a hard season, then at least you got some pizzazz with Obi.
Exactly. If you're going to lose games, you just want to see something from some of these guys, some highlight dunks and some big blocks, which Mitchell Robinson's definitely going to give you. He looks like a really good anchor there at center position for them for the future. We'll move on, Serge. Probably a game that you don't want to be talking about. We had the Indiana Pacers travel to Chicago. At halftime, it was 66-56 to the Pacers. Ended up finishing 125-106 with the Pacers winning. Domantas Sabonis continuing his great start to the season. 22 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists. TJ Warren, 23 points, 6 rebounds, getting into that bubble mode. Victor Oladipo had 22 points, 7 rebounds, 5 of 5 from three-point range. And then we had, for the Bulls, we had Zach LaVine. He had 17 points. He was a minus 20 in this game. Lauri Markkanen had 16 points and 9 rebounds. Kobe White had 12 points. This was it's a tough game for the Bulls. Tough start to the season. They shot terribly from field goal range. They got beaten 55.9%, which the Pacers shot, to 37.4%. But they beat them in three-point range, which is crazy. So just really poor shot selection, bad finishing next to the rim. Serge, you would have watched this game probably more than I did. What did you see?
I don't know. You start off with Kobe White shooting 3-pointers well, and then the team shot decent, as you said, 3-pointers. But it's just not possible for you to shoot 37% from the field and want to win a game. Not to mention that they could never contain their big three. And Oladipo had a great game. He shot 5 for 5 from 3-pointers, as you were saying. This is going to be a division battle, or probably not going to be a battle so far from what we've seen. But this is a team that Chicago has to beat, or at least compete with.
Yeah,
and they didn't compete. So that was sad to see. It's hard with the new coach and the new pieces, but we're gonna keep faith with Chicago.
Yeah, Billy Donovan's he's not gonna get too ahead of himself. He knows this is a young team that he went to, a team that wants to make the playoffs. But as we said before the season started, the East has got really deep. A lot of these, look at the Cavs are winning games, and it seems the Pacers you can't take lightly. The Pacers are one of those teams. I think I had them about 6th or 7th. They could finish higher. Domantas Sabonis is a really good player. Miles Turner's a really good defender. I think people were worried Oladipo, how he'd come back from a bunch of injuries the last couple of years. And TJ Warren. Remember in the bubble, him going ballistic for the Pacers. And this team has options for scoring, defense, Malcolm Brogdon, the Holiday brothers. They're still missing Jeremy Lamb, who's injured. So, yeah, hopefully Chicago can just fix up their defense a little bit as well. It's been a bit atrocious to start the season. They've given up, I think, over 125 points the first 2 games. So they've got a bit of work to do, but we're 2 games in. We don't have to get too far ahead of ourselves, Serge.
Yeah.
We had a few more games on Boxing Day. This was a really good, close game. We had the Raptors traveling to San Antonio. Halftime, it was 58-61 to the Spurs, and they won the game 119 to 114. For the Raptors, Pascal Siakam had 16 points, 15 rebounds, 8 assists, 0 for 5 from three-point range. Kyle Lowry had 16 points and 10 rebounds. Fred VanVleet, cheeky 27 points, 9 rebounds. How about Chris Boucher? He just got a contract extension. How about a nice little 22-point, 10 rebound and 7 block game? On the other side for the Spurs, we're having the renaissance of DeMar DeRozan, 27 points, 8 assists, 3 of 4 from three-point range. He never shoots three-pointers. Dejounte Murray had a nice little triple-double with 11 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. And Patty Mills came off the bench with 21 points and 5 of 6 from three-point range. Good start to the season for the Spurs. Another one of those teams that no one's talking about.
The Spurs are always going to be good if Popovich is there. It was great to see Patty Mills, your fellow Aussie mate, come out there, shoot 5 for 6. That was great. 21 points. And Murray, Murray, just consistent. DeMar DeRozan being the player that the Spurs traded for. Like, that's the kind of guy they wanted. They want that guy who can be the top scorer on the team.
Yeah, he started the season off really well. A lot of people are saying there's got to be a trade out there for DeMar DeRozan. I know the Magic were always looking to get another scorer in the backcourt. But it's 2 games in. You can't say too much, but 3 or 4 from three-point range. I think he averaged 1.2 three-pointers a game last year. So he's very hesitant to take them even when he is open. But when you're that good of a mid-range shooter, if the basket's open, take that shot, DeMar. Take that shot.
Yeah. If Blake Griffin can shoot 16 threes and make 8 of them, DeMar can shoot a few, right?
Yeah, 100%. Unfortunately, Pascal Siakam's continued his poor shooting from the bubble. To start the season was 0 for 5. He did a lot, obviously, with 15 rebounds and 8 assists. Shooting just let him down a little bit today, and the Raptors lose a close one to the Spurs. I will move on, Serge. The next game, another surprising little score here. We had Minnesota taking on Utah in Utah. Halftime, the Timberwolves were up by 15 points, 68 to 53. They won by 5 in the end, 116 to 111. We talked last time, D'Angelo Russell started from the bench. He started this game. He had 25 points and 6 assists. Karl Anthony Towns, 16 points, 12 rebounds and 4 blocks. And off the bench, Anthony Edwards, 18 points and 2 steals. For the Jazz, Donovan Mitchell had 21 points, 5 assists and 3 steals. Mike Conley, 20 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. Rudy Gobert had a monster double-double with 18 points and 17 rebounds. And Jordan Clarkson had 23 points off the bench, but it wasn't enough, Serge. And the stat that I'm looking at here, which is crazy, is the Jazz had 18 turnovers, and the Minnesota Timberwolves scored 26 points off those turnovers compared to the 11 that the Jazz scored. Even though they shot 19 more free throws and made 16 more free throws, the Jazz still lost this game. Turnovers, can't have that many in a game.
The Jazz need to put it together. This is a team that on paper is supposed to be able to beat them easy, and Minnesota, with that said, had a great showing by their rookie, and who's looking like he might be rookie of the year so far. 2 games in though, but he's looking great. The Jazz, I don't know, they just didn't capitalize where they could.
Yeah, it's we always say it's a make or miss league. The Jazz shot 29.4% from three-point range, while the Timberwolves shot 44.8%. So even though they had a 16 free throw disparity, the Jazz, you miss that many three-pointers, you're going to lose the game. But that's a good win for Minnesota on the road. I think that's the first 2 games they've won, which is a good start for another team we thought would struggle to start this season.
Yeah, I think they're coming with motivation. As we said, Towns. Ruger's a good leader, I think, for that team. Mm-hmm. And also he feels at home coming back to a team that, started him off. So I think he's going to be a great addition to the team, bring some maturity. I've already seen him talking a lot to the younger players and kind of directing them. And that's a big thing that Minnesota lacked in the last few years, because they had these star players like Wiggins and Towns. But, everything blew up with Jimmy Butler a couple of years ago when he was there. And the team was just lacking direction and drive and that motivation that players need. The NBA, as we've seen, is full of talent, but that doesn't just cut it if you want to be a winning team. You have to be able to grind and work hard day after day to get through to the next level.
Yeah.
So I think Rubio being around is bringing that maturity and that push, and hopefully the players are just hungrier now.
On that, it's like you're saying, it's just you need the right vets in that team. And Minnesota seemed like one of those teams that have just struggled to have any vets last year. They traded for James Johnson when they won a few games in last year, but just they're all young guys, and you need a couple of loud voices or some guys who have had a lot of campaigns behind them, like Ricky Rubio. He's played some playoffs before for different teams, and just a guy just to settle the nerves in certain parts of games when you go on an 8-0 run or when you're down 10-0. And it's been a good start. And I think that Minnesota, I don't know how long they're going to sustain it, but Karl Anthony Towns doesn't need a score for this team to win. They need him defensively, because when he is a defensive monster, they win their games.
100%. And the thing is that he's so good offensively. So he's that option that's going to produce open spaces and open shots and looks for everyone else.
Yeah, 100%. The next one, Serge, another great game. Rockets at the Portland Trailblazers. The Rockets were up 68-58 at halftime. This one went to OT, where the Rockets lost 126-128. We had an old-fashioned shootout, Serge, between James Harden, who had 44 points and 17 assists, and CJ McCollum, who had 14 points, 8 assists, 0 turnovers, shot 9 of 16 from three-point range. Also for the Rockets, Christian Wood had a great game, 31 points, 13 rebounds. Jayshawn Tate, who is the guy that James Harden threw a ball at the other day, he had 13 points and was a nice plus 14 off the bench, gave him some energy. Damian Lillard had 32 points and 9 assists as well for the Trailblazers. And Yusuf Nurkic did a little bit of everything, 12 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists. Just before you go into the game, Serge, the Rockets have 4 guys who couldn't play the game who are in a 7-day quarantine: John Wall, Eric Gordon, Boogie Cousins, and Mason Jones. It's a lot of firepower sitting at home quarantining.
Yeah, it's very important to note that, because they only lost by 2 points. So they had a good showing. It was a great game, and Harden kind of needed this big game to get a little bit of that air on his back. He showed up, and the guy is, he's just money. He showed up, and he was great in all aspects. But CJ McCollum, wow. That's the thing with Portland. You have 2 players. You have Lillard, who's amazing. But if Lillard, is having a more quiet game, you have another guy who can drop 40, 50. It's kind of like a Clay Curry situation going on over there. But yeah, and Tate, good for him showing up. Who knew, like, a little old-fashioned fight in practice would help,
Bit of motivation. This is I didn't think the crazy game, like with so many people out, like you're saying, James Harden needed to do something. 44 points and 17 assists. He did something. He came out and showed, with all the memes of everyone calling McHarden and Harden being a fat shit, he came out and showed everyone that he is top 5 player in the league still. And that,
I mean, Harden's that good that he could probably put on 20 more pounds and he'd still drop 50 on people.
Yeah, he showed that if you're going to trade for him, you are getting one of the best players in the league and one of the best offensive players we've maybe ever seen.
Important note about this game as well is that Harden had just recently opened up his trade options up to the Blazers. He said the Blazers were at the top. So it's important for him to have played an excellent game when they might be trading for him and might be adding him.
What do you think that does to the Trailblazers? Let's say if they traded CJ McCollum for James Harden, you'd probably have to get rid of a couple more pieces, maybe a couple of the younger guys off the bench. But I don't see it. I just think there's CJ McCollum can play off the ball really well with Damian Lillard. James Harden, we've already seen, he doesn't like to play off the ball very much.
And to be honest, I think Lillard's just going to decide. So it depends how tight the relationship that Lillard and McCollum have, because, I don't think that organization knows that Damian Lillard wants to stay there. He wants to be a Blazer for life. So I think it's going to depend if he gives a go ahead.
Yeah, 100%. And to finish off Boxing Day, Serge, we had one more game. This was a really good game as well. We had the Suns at Sacramento playing the Kings. 54-58 Kings lead at halftime, and they ground out the win, 103-106. Excuse me. Devin Booker for the Suns, 26 points, 7 turnovers. Chris Paul had 22 points, 12 assists, and 0 turnovers. Jay Crowder got in on the action with 17 points and 8 rebounds. And for the Kings, De'Aaron Fox had 24 points, 7 assists, and 2 blocks. Marvin Bagley had himself a nice double-double with 13 points and 11 rebounds. And Harrison Barnes, 11 points and 11 rebounds. Serge, if you look at the stats I sent you, this game looks like nobody could hit a shot from behind the arc. The Suns shot 25% and the Kings shot 21.7%. So nice low-scoring game.
That's disgraceful, especially when you have Devin Booker on one of those teams.
100%. 7 turnovers. You're not going to win too many games if you're given the opportunity, if you're giving the other team that many more possessions, Serge.
Yeah, great win for the Kings. And De'Aaron Fox showing up great today. The Suns, irrespective, I think they've played all right. And it's just as like many teams that have gotten new pieces and assembled almost like a brand new team. Well, not the Suns, but a lot of teams like that. The Suns have, I think they're going to need a bit of time, but I think, Chris Paul is playing great. And I love, that he's able to coexist really well with Devin Booker. That's the main thing that the Suns should be looking at right now. And it seems to be happening.
Yeah. DeAndre Ayton as well needs to grow. And but that's a good win for the Kings. The Kings are looking all right. Another guy, De'Aaron Fox, who got a nice big extension to start the season. And he's balling out. He's showing how good he can be. They need more from Marvin Bagley. 13 points, 11 rebounds is good. But Marvin Bagley promised to be this all-worldly scorer, and he was impossible to contain at the power forward or center position. So good win, even without getting the most from him. So, yeah, that's a good win for the Kings, and they're off to an all right start.
At least we can celebrate that the Kings are at least showing up for some tight games because they've had 2 tight games in a row.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes you need that to start the season. Give your team blowouts obviously help, but usually a blowout says more about the team that lost and more than the team that won a lot of the time. But these close games, if you can beat these guys in the clutch, it's really good for your team. It really builds the team morale, and they've got a lot of young guys in that team. So, yeah, good win for the Kings. Good start. So that was the end of the Boxing Day games. There was an early game today. For me here, it's morning. I started watching it at 7:30 in the morning. You would have watched it, I believe, the noon game in LA. But, oh, my God, I'm glad I woke up to watch this one. Dallas played the Clippers today. There was no Kawhi because he is sitting out with those 8 brutal stitches in the mouth. At halftime, Serge, we had the biggest halftime lead in any NBA game ever. Dallas were leading 77-27 with a 50-point lead. The game finished a 51-point victory for the Mavericks, 124-73. Josh Richardson had 21 points, 4 of 8 from three-point range, plus 22 in 26 minutes. Luka Doncic, 24 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. He was a plus 29 in 25 minutes. Tim Hardaway, 18 points, 5 rebounds, 4 of 8, plus 21 in 23 minutes. Paul George had 15 points, 4 assists, 0 from three-point range. It was a minus 22. Serge Ibaka was the next best scorer with 13 points and 9 rebounds. And Zubats had 10 points. This was a blowout pretty much from, I think it was 2 minutes in. The Clippers scored the first points of the game. They never led for the rest of the game, and it was just a blowout. The lead kept going up. And wow, after Dallas lost to the Phoenix and the Lakers, they needed a win, and they got one, a 51-point one.
Just a bit of a small win. I kept looking at the score as I was talking to you, and I kept thinking, when you have the ref in a boxing match and the guy's still standing, hasn't been knocked out, but you can see his eyes are going every other way, and the guy just waves it off, it's over. That's what they should have done with the Clippers in the second quarter.
Throw in the
second
towel.
quarter, this was already over. I mean, to be down by 50 at halftime is insane. Like, I've never seen such a thing.
I was listening to the commentary, and I was listening actually to the Mavericks commentary, and they were saying there's a lot of new rules in the NBA in the NBA this season. Should there be a mercy rule? Because the Clippers needed it. They were awful. And it comes down to, I know it's just one game. It's a really bad loss. I saw Paul George shake it off, go, it's just one loss. But The problem that I think we foresaw at the beginning of the season is exactly what happened today. They don't have a point guard who can create easy looks for people. I don't think I saw one pick and roll today from the Clippers. That's not really Beverly's game. It's not really Kennard's game. And to be honest, you don't want Paul George and Kawhi Leonard always initiating the offense. You need some guy, like you've been saying, maybe a Derrick Rose, someone to just, once you get into pick and roll, it opens up the floor. Dallas were great defensively today, but they didn't have a lot to do. The Clippers looked awful from pretty much 2 minutes into the rest of the game.
Yeah, Scotty, it just speaks really poorly of the Clippers. It's not, and I'm not buying that it's only a game and wave it off. That's not how it works. When you're a championship contending team, you don't lose by 50 points under any circumstance. And Ty Lue, come on, you can't allow this with your team. I don't care. If that's the case, you keep your starters in through the fourth quarter, playing 40 minutes to put up a decent game. This is not acceptable. And it's just, you can't have that happen. And whatever happened to, if your star player is out, now you really step up. The other pieces play better. We didn't see any of that today.
I hope, and I think that Ty Lue would have ripped his players a new arsehole today. I would have loved to see what happened in that locker room after, because, oh man, there would have been some heads dropping, but I would have been screaming at those guys. There was no effort today. And defensively, I think the Clippers, once they get Kawhi, they're always going to be good. But crunch time, apart from, you're going to give the ball to Kawhi or Paul George, go here, create something. But that's not how they play their best offense. Paul George and Kawhi love playing off the elbow. Then they can create for others. They can get their own shots. Paul George loves that fadeaway. Kawhi loves that little turnaround jumper. They have to figure out how this team's going to work this year, because Reggie Jackson's not going to cut it at point guard. Neither's Kennard. Neither's Pat Bev. Neither's Lou Williams, because he's a defensive liability when he's in crunch time. So I think a trade's going to be coming sooner or later. And this game may be the thing that just kind of pushed the organization to go, okay, we can't have this happen again.
100% agree with you. I think at this point, it's not only that they need one playmaker, they might need two.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. They need some help. They need some help creating the ball, creating some offense. Well, that was all the games since we spoke. That was Christmas Day, Boxing Day, and the early morning game today. Sergio and I are going to have a little bet, as we usually do on a couple of games coming up. But before we do, on Christmas Day, Sergio and I picked our winners for the day. I'd like to announce that I got every game right. I didn't pick my Mavericks, which was very hard, and I picked the Clippers. We got the Heat, Bucks, and Nets right. But Sergio, 3 from 5. I believe that is a shot, my friend.
The fact that I lost because your team lost is a bit much, but I'm going to do my shot as promised. Oh, tequila.
Oh, that's not a little bit of tequila. Oh.
Good thing we're doing it at the end of the show.
Well, when we do this show, most of the time it's morning for me and afternoon for you. So I got to stop losing, because I can't drive after I lose these bets with you, Serge. But we've got another couple of games coming up. Let's see what we think of these. So today we have the Suns at the Kings, the T-Wolves at the Lakers, and the Pistons at the Hawks. Let's start off with Suns at Kings. Who you got for this one, Serge? I think that's the Suns playing a back-to-back, and the Kings too.
The Suns have to take this 100%.
Sergio taking the Suns. I'm going to go the opposite way. I am going the Kings.
Kings back-to-back.
I think the next one, we're both T-Wolves at the Lakers. Lakers. And then tomorrow's game, Pistons at Hawks. Pistons. Holy shit, Sergio. I am going to go the Hawks. We got a couple different ones here.
All right.
Well, hopefully we'll be speaking in a couple days, Serge, and we'll have a nice shot of tequila ready. Again, thanks for joining us, guys. These podcasts are running a little bit long at the moment because we've had so many games to get through, but best thing is we're talking about basketball that's actually happening. There are so many games on ESPN or wherever you guys are watching, wherever you guys are in the world. Serge, Thank you for getting online with me and doing this again. Great little podcast here. Let's watch some basketball, baby. We are into the season.
Yeah. See you, buddy. And I hope everyone had a good holiday and get ready for New Year's.
Yeah, I hope you're all safe. I hope you guys have spent some time with your family and you're getting ready for New Year's. Remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube page and clips. We're a little bit slow at the moment, but they'll all be coming out soon. And join on Facebook at Talkin Ball with Scotty and Sergio. I've got Instagram coming online the next couple of days as well. But until the next podcast, watch as much basketball as you can, guys. Look after each other. Sergio.
See you, brother.
Have a great day. Peace, guys. Thanks for watching.